Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and connoisseurs of the written word. Today, we'll be discussing a rather interesting word that has not one meaning but rather two meanings, two very different meanings. Okay, the word we're going to discuss is the word, let's write it out, E N C E I enceinte. Okay. enceinte. Enceinte. Okay. So this word, as I mentioned earlier, has two very different meanings. Let's discuss the noun version first. Okay. The noun version of enceinte refers to the enclosure, the area within a fortress. I know we don't use fortresses now anymore, but back in the past, a huge number of people used to live. Hang on one second, there's a loud noise. Okay, now to return. As I was saying, in the past, a great many people used to live within fortresses for obvious reasons. The countryside was kind of unsafe. There were plenty of brigands roaming around, ruffians, no street lights, total darkness on a new moon, and always a possibility of an attack by an enemy under the cover of darkness. So it was a wise and prudent decision to live within a fortress. And some of these fortresses were really large. I mean, we are talking fortresses the size almost of a small town. I mean, if you're inside the fortress, um, the walls would really be far away. You'd find it hard to believe you're actually inside a fortress. I mean, fortresses of this size were not common in Europe, but in India, um, they were not unusual at all. Very large fortresses, giant fortresses. So when we use the word enceinte, uh, we're referring to the area within that fortress. Obviously, a critical parameter. The more area you have, the more people you can have inside, the more food and water you can store inside, and the longer you can withstand a siege. These fortresses were frequently under siege, and therefore you wanted a fortress to have ample space to accommodate enough supplies, and obviously soldiers as well. So, enceinte refers to the enclosure within a fortress. How do we use this word in a sentence? Okay, let's take one example. We could say the fortress was so large that its enceinte encompassed 2,500 square meters. Okay, that's about 500 meters on each side. That's about half a kilometer, which makes a fortress fairly large. Okay, so that is one meaning of the word enceinte, and that's a noun. Okay, so you're talking about a noun, an enclosure, obviously, so you're dealing with a noun. The second meaning of the word enceinte refers to the pregnant condition. Okay, in this instance, it is not a noun, but rather an adjective. Okay, so when you say someone is in a pregnant condition, that is an enceinte condition. Okay, so let us use this word once again in a sentence, because you could say the girl appeared far too young far too young to be pregnant. But given her swollen belly, it was clear to the doctor examining her that she was in an enceinte condition. Okay? You frequently hear about these, uh, young girls being taken by force, and later on, they have to be examined by a doctor before a police case could be registered against the offender to verify whether the molestation had actually occurred. Sometimes, because a girl does not report the incident immediately, but rather after several months, it's the duty of the doctor to establish whether or not she is in an enceinte condition, in which case it is very simple to establish the paternity of the father, and indict him on criminal charges. Obviously, you just examine the a DNA sample from the fetus, which is the amniotic fluid, and you can easily establish the identity of the father. So, in a sense, becoming pregnant aids a girl indirectly in establishing the criminality of the offender. So, whereas if it had just been a case of sexual molestation without pregnancy, it may not have been that easy to indict the molester. Okay, we have this happening all the time. So many of these pedophiles wandering around that it's a not infrequent occurrence. So the enceinte condition of the girl needs to be urgently established in order to establish the paternity of the criminal offender and bring him to justice. Okay, it's a rather unpleasant topic to talk about, but it clearly illustrates uh, the power of this word enceinte. If you want to use the word pregnancy in a more clinical setting, in a more detached setting, you wouldn't want to say she's pregnant. It's a kind of a rough usage. An enceinte condition would be more appropriate in a doctor's report before criminal charges are filed against her molester. Okay, so we have here these two words once again, enceinte, rather one word with two different meanings. Enceinte, the noun, referring to an enclosure within a fortress, and enceinte, an adjective that refers to the state of being pregnant. Okay, so it doesn't refer to pregnancy. It's not a noun. I hasten to add, it's not a noun. It's an adjective. So you're referring to the condition of being pregnant rather than the pregnancy per se. Okay, so that is all for today, and I'll be seeing you all tomorrow on a different video. Bye for now.